Hello and welcome to the next video of the Americas 2025 preview series where we're going to cover Isurus Estral, a combination of Isurus Gaming and Estral Esports. Estral actually originally had the the slot for LTA South, but Isurus ended up combining forces with them. Going into this season, based on last year's statistics individually, this team would rank 5th in LTA South. I believe that is the absolute floor. I think this team is going to be competing for the LTA South Championship in the end. Since this is a new organization, there are no results over the last 3 years because, hell, we've seen Estral do well. We've seen Isurus go to international events in that period, but now they have to combine forces. And sometimes when you have, a lot of people that are prideful and they have had a lot of success, join forces, there may be some dysfunction there on what is the right way to, go about doing this or that. We've seen Estral do very well in the regular seasons, but in the playoffs, I think only go to one international event, right? Last year, MSI. But Isurus, maybe not so much the last couple of years have been dominant, but they did go to Worlds 2022, and they have seen success at times. So it's just one of those things. Now, this roster, like I said, I believe will be competing towards the top of LTA South and be in the discussion. As of the moment, you got Burdol in top lane, a Korean import, 21 years old, ranks 6th in LTA South based on last year's stats. But last year's stats were in the LPL. So theoretically, I expect him to do better than 6th. Now, a lot of people think of Summit immediately, like, oh, well, Burdol's going to do what Summit did with Rainbow 7 and just dominate Latin America and Brazil and just be that much better. Burdol is not as good as Summit. Summit was a mechanically gifted player in lane, could open up massive leads and do some damage. Burdol, a younger player still, doesn't quite have that oomph factor that Summit did, in my opinion. Now, Burdol had a 2.2 KDA, 56.3 KP, 7.8 CS per minute with LGD last season. LGD sucked. Burdol's numbers come through and show how good he was on that team with a 1.5 share differential and a 1.39 ROI. Not a lot of gold, necessarily, but did deal a healthy amount of damage on that team, a team that, especially in spring, were awful. Summer, they were more competitive and got into the upper half because of Meteor's success alongside Hai Chow. But Burdol did his job and did the best he could. And, in the LPL, he got booted out for a reason, right? And hell, you're playing on Gen G, you're playing on DK. It's a very young player being forced into situations that honestly he was not ready for, and then got the boot after that and ended up, on Sandbox and then in LGD. But negative 475 gold behind at 15 minutes in summer. That's the shocker. That's the number that is problematic. If you were spotting your opponent 475 gold on average in the LPL, mind you, I have a very hard time believing that it's going to flip to 475 ahead or so at 15 minutes in CB lull. I just don't think that the swing is that big. 2.93 vision efficiency, 13 champions, 86 games, ranked 6th, 21 years old. Kesante, Atrox, Nar, just over half of his champion usage last season. Josedeodo in the jungle, ranks 3rd going into this season in LTA South. I think he could be the best jungler in LTA South when it's all said and done. 6.5 KDA, 72 KP, 5.9 CS per minute with Estral last season. Less than stellar numbers, don't get me wrong. It's not as carry-oriented as you'd like Josedeodo's numbers to be. The KDA is nice, but the KP and resources, not so much. Negative 3.5 share differential, 1.12 ROI. So he did deal a good amount of damage relative to the gold he was receiving. But still, that is what it is. Up 105 gold at 15 minutes, 4.45 ROI. 16 champions, 74 games. Ranks 3rd, 24 years old, oldest player on the team. Maokai Sejuani Lee Sin, 45% of his champion usage. In mid lane, we have Myru. Myru played with HLE a couple years ago. Did play in Latin America. Did go to Worlds last season in 2023 with Rainbow 7, if I recall correctly. and left a little bit to be desired and got the boot. Ended up in TCL, and I forget where he played in ERLs in summer, but regardless, he was in Europe's Tier 2 system all of last season. And these stats are not that great for a Korean import in a Tier 2. So going back to Latin American CB Lal, there is some reservations for me. He's ranked 8th by default because he didn't play in a World's qualifying league last season. But, I mean, I don't expect him to necessarily be upper half either. 2.9 KDA, 69.1 KP, 9 CS per minute. The KDA is pretty ugly, but a 7% share differential, so he can only do as much as he could. I mean, that's a massive deal. That means, hell, I'm getting 22% of the team's gold, but I'm dealing carry damage at 29%. So, we'll see how that goes this year. Maybe he returns to form and is very strong in this tier of play. 1.75 ROI, 85 gold ahead, 2.84 vision efficiency, 14 champion, 61 games. 23 years old, and interestingly enough, Aurelian Sol was his most played last season, followed by Corky and Azir for 43% of his games. Bot lane duo, Snaker and Ackerman joining from Estral. So Snaker ranks 5th in LTA South going into this year. 5.3 KDA, 71.5 KP, 8.5 CS per minute. A lot of Senna games and a lot of interesting compositions out of these two. Ackerman's champion pool is pretty strong. And he's the better half of this bot lane duo, in my opinion. 2.3 share differential, 1.5 ROI. So the 2.3 share differential indicates to me, hell, maybe he's getting 24% of the gold, but only dealing 26% of the damage. What's going on here? Why aren't we packing a punch? If you're getting the resources, we need to make something with those. Maybe it works with a player like Myru. I mean, when we look at the share differentials here, we do this little thing every video, but what do we have? Positive 8.5, 10.8, positive 10.8, negative 7.7, so 3.1 in the right direction on this team. That's good. I mean, we have more carries than we necessarily need, and maybe that allows a player like Snaker to continue to be, not as efficient. 1.5 ROI, up 380 gold at 15 minutes. I mean, as far as that's concerned, this team's going to be ahead by quite a bit because Burdol's the only one that's negative. And like I said, I don't expect that negative 475 to turn to positive 475, but I expect it to be a much better number this season. 2.55 vision efficiency, 14 champions, 74 games, ranks 5th, 22 years old. Callista, Varus, and Senna, 46% of his champion usage. Best player on this team, at least based on stats, probably is Ackerman. He's first in his role in LTA South. He's 22 years old. Had a 5.4 KDA and a 76.6 KP. He made things happen for Estral. He got around the rift and got shit done. Over 3 out of every 4 kills, he had his fingerprints on. Negative 4.2 share differential and a 0.97 ROI. Nearly dealt as much damage as he had in gold. And there are supports that have less, I think, 0.59, 0.6. It's a pretty sizable difference. A 0.3 ROI difference is pretty big. Like, in my opinion, that's huge. Even at the support role. Like, he is dealing, like, there is some not carry threat, but aggression here that not other supports necessarily have. There are stronger champion picks, more lane dominant champion picks out of Ackerman. 250 gold ahead, 1.99 vision efficiency, so very efficient in the vision department. 20 champions in 74 games, 22 years old. Nautilus, Rel, Leona, 49% of his champion usage. Yang is the head coach. Yang was on Sengoku Gaming last season as a coach. He is 64, 32, and 8 in the regular season over his career. Coaching in Japan, coaching in Latin America. I think he may have coached in Brazil as well. Been in minor regions throughout his coaching career. I think he was with the Freak of Freaks for a year, but not technically on the official roster coaching staff. Maybe a lower level analyst or something. But 62% win rate. 39 and 49 in the playoffs for a 44% win rate, and then 6 and 11 at international events, 35% win rate. So this team, like I said, I think the floor is 5th. I believe Burdol is better than 6th. I think Josedeodo is probably better than 3rd, and Myru is not 8th. So, like I said, I think this team is going to be upper half in the end and be competitive and have a chance to get to an international event representing Latin America as part of LTA South. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.